Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Inspire FM. You're listening to Friday Night Live. My name is Zafar Iqbal. It's Friday, 2nd of February 2024, and I'm here with you to talk about topical items of discussion. As always, things which have hit the headlines, things which are of interest to you. So today we're going to be talking about Pakistan, the latest on the elections in Pakistan. And we're going to be talking about the funding, removal of funding from UNRWA, the agency that's supporting the Palestinians. Talk about that later on this session. And also, I will be talking to Councillor Javed Hussain about the cemetery changes a bit later on as well. We're going to kick off, first of all, with this very topical discussion for the local Muslim and Pakistani community. I'm sure a lot of people have been reading newspapers and looking at these social media posts regarding Imran Khan and him being sentenced to 10 years in one case and 14 years in another case. And we're going to be talking to some experts, I guess, from Pakistan, from that part of the world. We're going to be talking to Fakhrur Rahman, who's a journalist who's worked for NBC TV, Turkish TV, and CNN Turk. Very qualified, very eminent person to speak to about the situation in Pakistan. And we will also have Asad Mahmood, who is the chapter office holder for PTI in the UK. We're going to kick off, first of all, with a discussion, I guess, an update on where we are from Fakhrur Rahman. Fakhrur Rahman, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to Inspire FM, and welcome to Friday Night Live.
Wa alaikum assalam, and good wishes from Islamabad to all your kind listeners and your radio. This is my first time I'm appearing in a radio broadcast from Islamabad.
I'm sure the people of Luton and people of Peterborough, Sheffield, and all the places where people listen to Inspire FM will be warmly welcoming you as well. So if I can kick off proceedings basically and ask you what the latest situation is. So I'll just mention the headlines, but perhaps you can give some more details in terms of why Imran Khan has been sentenced and what the cases were, perhaps.
Well, it's been 2 years since 9th April in 2022. Imran Khan was sent out of power through an international conspiracy, and which we know here as a regime change operation. And Pakistan has been going through worst kind of suppressions in terms of violations of human rights, political victimizations, and travesty of justice. And we have seen extrajudicial killings, we have seen extrajudicial arrests, we have seen now former Pakistan Prime Minister being punished in a cipher conspiracy, which is totally, according to his lawyers, baseless and unconstitutional punishment. He has been recently punished for 14 years for 10 years rigorous imprisonment and a very heavy fine. Then there was another state gift case in which he has been sentenced to 14 years imprisonment along with his spouse, Bushra Bibi. So what we have seen so far, that just few weeks now from the elections which are scheduled on 8th of February, Imran Khan has been sentenced, and his PTI, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the Pakistan Justice Party, is facing worst kind of what you can say a fascist judicial system, because they have no right to hold public meetings, they have no right to hold their election meetings, and just yesterday they had announced to hold intra-party elections, which was basically, nullified by the Supreme Court, endorsing the Election Commission of Pakistan earlier verdict. So this is a kind of what you can say a controlled democracy where Pakistan is heading into. And if you see from what I have described to you, I mean, many would like to characterize it as a martial law, which
Hmm.
is behind the scene, which may not be apparent, but in all its tangibilities, you can feel it. You can see the courts, you can see the other institutions from where one political party, which is the largest political party at the moment in Pakistan, which is being cornered, and their political rights, their all human rights are being subjected to brutal suppression by state institutions.
Yeah, the other parties would argue that in their times as well, similar sort of activities have happened and they've been denied these rights. And Nawaz Sharif, I think, will say the same thing. I think he's been calling for an equality of a treatment, and I guess from many people's mind, what Imran Khan is going through is equating to what he's been going through. Do you think there is a comparison?
No comparison at all. I have
Mm,
witnessed 2018 elections. And by the
mhm.
way, it was in 2017 when the Panama scandal
Yeah.
came out across the globe, and Mr. Nawaz Sharif and his family members, their names appeared. And he was
Mhm.
sitting prime minister when he himself came out on live the TV and telling the nation that since there are allegations about him and his family, so he decided to come live to tell the nation that I'm going to tell you because these are related to corruption charges against me. And then on the floor of the house, and then he went into Supreme Court, and Supreme Court asked him, do you want us to appoint a joint investigation team? And he gave his willingness in writing. So there is
Mhm.
no parallel, because
Mhm.
when he was sitting prime minister, when the Panama investigations had started, and then it was his party government when he was sentenced to lifetime disqualification from politics. So you can't draw any kind of parallel what former prime minister Imran Khan party is facing today. And by the way, not only that, just in a marriage case with Bushra Bibi, there is worst kind of humiliation in the national media, and the way the personal relationship between a husband and a wife is being used for political humiliation. I mean, you
Mhm.
would not find such a example in Pakistani politics previously. Yes, we have seen Nawaz Sharif tarnishing uh, former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto's image, but this kind of revengeful politics are unprecedented, because
Mhm.
you would not see a former prime minister facing around 200 cases
Indeed.
from one to
Let's just
another.
focus. Okay, let's just focus on the two cases that he's been convicted on. So talk about the first case, about the cipher. And you mentioned it was a conspiracy, and I guess others would argue differently. But talk us through the details of that and what that is about, because a lot of people don't understand what the cipher is and what that means, etc. Maybe you can highlight, and where do you think, whether the proceedings of the court reflected the actual realities?
You see, I've been covering court for the last many years, maybe more than 2 decades, and I would like to say, open court means open court, where
Mm,
everybody has a chance to go and listen the proceedings and witness the proceedings,
mm,
and justice is seen to have been done. When court proceedings are fixed in a jail, and judge who is ought to be giving justice, when he walks into jail, then that means judge is jailed and the justice is jailed. So
Mhm.
therefore, I don't see, first, number one, the verdict stands to be disqualified because of this first reason,
Mhm.
because it was meant to be an open court hearing. Number two, former Prime Minister Imran Khan has been alleged to have stolen a official secret document. Now, cipher is a coded word messaging from a diplomatic mission to headquarters Islamabad.
Mhm.
What former Prime Minister Imran Khan was given was a transcripted copy, not
Yeah.
this cipher. Okay,
Yeah.
so to allege him to have taken away copy of the cipher is totally something which you can't prove, because cipher original is lying in the safe of Foreign Office of Pakistan. Now, number two, when the cipher issue came out, the Prime Minister called National Security Committee meeting,
Yeah.
and that meeting decided that it was blatant intervention into Pakistan's internal affairs, and the U.S. ambassador was called at Foreign Office, and he was given a protest note. So when Imran Khan was dislodged, the same meeting of National Security Committee was held under the Prime Ministership of Shehbaz Sharif, who was chairing the meeting. So the question arises on what copy of cipher he was
If the
holding that
copy is
meeting.
lost, if the copy is
Yeah,
lost, what did
and
they
the
use to
copy,
discuss it?
and now the stance taken by Imran Khan during the hearing is that it was in his prime minister office, and he said that I don't know. So prime minister is not supposed to be keeping such a document into his pocket. Now, being a chief executive, he had, you know, uh, made that document open to certain state institutions, like the
Yeah.
Supreme Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, like the Speaker of the National Assembly. So Imran Khan was waiting for his lawyers to come and defend him, while the judge appointed state counsels for him, which was
Right.
not
So
acceptable to Imran Khan.
it's a very important point there, right? Because so what we're
Yeah,
saying basically is that uh, the the trial took place in jail, not in a court. The jail was declared as an open court, but it wasn't open because only a handful of people were allowed in, basically. So it wasn't open to
yes,
public. And Imran Khan was not allowed to have his own defense team. The defense team and the prosecution team came from the government.
yes. And Imran Khan reportedly opposed, but he was not heard. So
Mm.
the judgment came in a haste, and judgment in a haste is a waste.
Mm.
You see, so the lawyer team from the Imran Khan side said that it was the travesty of the justice.
Mm.
So now uh, there are so many loopholes, and Imran Khan himself has been reportedly quoted to have said that what was the haste? Pakistan's major national English daily, Dawn, the headline was "The Hasty Verdict," the
Mm.
verdict in haste. So it is not that I am saying that, it is not that something Imran Khan is saying that, it is something which is known across the country now, that a single politician has been subjected to a chosen kind of tribulations. We have seen courts giving orders to release political workers, and we have seen those orders being flouted by the police. and the persons and those political workers were rearrested on different charges. So I would say that now Imran Khan has been saying to his party workers, look, my court is your vote, the election day, the polling day on 8th of February. You give me justice. This is what today Imran Khan has given a message from the four corners of the jail that if you
So
want real,
summarize what you're saying basically is that the trial has concluded. It concluded in haste. Potential reason for concluding in haste is to prevent Imran Khan from taking part in election potentially, and also what you're saying basically is from this is that the judgment stands to be reviewed by higher court, I guess.
yes, now the appeal right is there for in Islamabad High Court, which they are going to do because we have now the detailed judgment. But at the same time, I would like to bring to your radio transmission and to your respective listeners another fact. Mr. Nawaz Sharif has been demanding what he characterized as level playing field because
Yes.
he was sentenced just before 2018 elections. So he wanted the same thing. You see, we and across the international media, it is reported now time and again that there was a London plan to oust the Imran Khan government.
Mhm.
And now Imran Khan himself has said that according to London plan, this sentence has been given to him. So
Right. I think we've heard that. Let's move on to the second conviction that he's had in something called a toshahana, which is kind of like a state gifts store. Let's talk a little bit about that, right? And what are the details behind that?
you see, the details are that Imran Khan was gifted a watch
He
by,
was given a watch, yeah.
yeah, he was gifted a watch by Saudi crown prince some time
Yeah.
back. And according to Pakistani laws, if you are given a gift at state level, then you have to deposit it at state archive, or you can
Mhm.
say state gift house, whatever it is, which is called as Tosha Khana.
Mhm.
What Imran Khan did, that he got the evaluation of that gift as per laws, and then he paid out and got that watch. The,
Mhm.
the opposition tried to make some kind of because they couldn't find any kind of corruption against financial
Mhm.
corruption against Imran Khan. So they wanted to have some kind of moral corruption charges against him. So
Mhm.
this case in which he and his wife has been sentenced is regarding a watch, hand watch, okay,
Yeah.
and it has been overvalued. And
Mm.
you can just gauge the um you can just gauge the charges against Imran Khan from the fact that a witness who was presented before the court said that the the diamond was in grams, whereas a diamond is measured in carats. Okay,
Mm.
so when he was asked, how did you evaluated this, you know, so he was measuring the diamond in grams. So the judge asked himself also, and his Imran Khan lawyer also cross-examined him that how what kind of expert you are, that you
Mhm.
don't know that diamonds are measured in carats,
Yeah.
not in grams. So, so this was again to prove that Imran Khan was not Sadiq and Amin. What?
So basically, the allegation is that the watch was undervalued, and he paid less tax to the state. Is that the allegation, or is it overvalued? And how does it work?
Yeah, the charge is that he abused his office to have that watch, that state gift, to have it undervalued and paid less money and then
It's the
got it.
it's the prosecution's evaluator who's evaluated it higher than what Imran Khan did. But this is not something new, though, is it? I mean, other politicians and other generals and also, I guess, anybody in a civil service this gift, they go through the same process, right?
Excuse me, I'm having coughing. Um, yes, the same judge, Mr. Justice Bashir, same cases of state gifts regarding Mr. Asif Ali Zardari, regarding Mr. Former Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani, and Pervez Ashraf, in rental case. So those cases are pending, and still they have not been decided. So many years have passed.
It's interesting the timing of this because again it's close to elections, and I guess the conclusion that one comes to is the fact that these are politically charged convictions to prevent him from standing in elections, right? Would you say that?
I would say that this is the worst kind of
there has connection. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So I am saying there had been many pressure tactics on Imran Khan to subdue to what they call in Pakistan establishment, to their demands. Okay, but he has not. He said, I am ready to spend whole of my life in jail. He's asking time and again to the people that it is for your sorry, it is for your future, for your generation's future, that what you have to decide. I have had my life, but you have to decide about the hakiki azadi, real freedom. So you see, I have been covering political issues for the last 25 years. I have seen Benazir Bhutto facing the political charges. I have seen Nawaz Sharif. You can't draw any parallel what Imran Khan is facing today and what Benazir Bhutto or Asif Ali Zardari.
What you are saying is that they have gone through the similar sort of thing. If not like for like, they have faced challenges from, I guess, people who hold power.
Oh yes, that is what I am telling you, that here we are talking about constitution. Here we have seen the Supreme Court of Pakistan depriving millions of PTI voters from their bat symbol. We have seen that. I have witnessed the proceedings there, and I know how the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, he was the judge, he was the lawyer, and he was the party to the case. He formulated the legal formulations and put it into the mouth of the Election Commission counsel. I have witnessed this myself.
He's not here to defend himself, right? So I think that's your interpretation of the events. If I move on to, I guess we only got a few more minutes. Elections are due on the 5th of February, which is next week. It's widely expected, according to the BBC, I'm not saying this, according to the BBC, that Nawaz Sharif is expected to win. How is that possible?
It is only possible that you excuse me excuse me
no problem.
It is only possible that those people who will come to the ballot, you give them ballot paper, and then you have the stamp of your own party choice at gunpoint. This is the, you see, all the surveys in Pakistan, political surveys,
Yeah.
they suggest that Imran Khan popularity is standing at 60%, and Mr. Nawaz Sharif popularity is somehow around 30-40%,
Right.
if
Okay.
I'm not exaggerating. So that is something
I'm gonna have to
which
ask
is
you.
apparent.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I've only got about 15 seconds left or so. So I do apologize. I'll cut you midstream. Thank you very much, for your contribution today. I really valued it. Inshallah, we'll have more conversations in the future. For now, listeners, we're going to take a short break and we'll be back right after these messages.
Thank you for having me.
और इसके मज़ाफ़ात में नमाज़े इशा का वक्त हुआ चाहता है.
This azan has been sponsored by Ideal Properties. Contact us on 01582 721110 or log on to www.idealpropertiesltd.co.uk.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وبعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته إنك لا تخلف الميعاد.
Would you like to sponsor the azan? If so, give us a call on 01582 481810 or email us on info@inspirefm.org.
From the studios of Inspire FM, the time is now 6:30.
Alaikum, welcome back. You're listening to Friday Night Live. This is Inspire FM 105.1 FM. Before the break, we talked about Imran Khan's conviction for 10 years and 14 years, respectively, for allegations allegations that were made against him regarding the Toshahana case and also the Cypher case. We talked to Fahur Rahman from Islamabad, a journalist who has been following the proceedings quite closely, and his conclusions were that these convictions will be reviewed and will be challenged in the higher courts and do not stand a chance in the higher courts. But the timings of these sentences are really to prevent Imran Khan from taking part in the elections, which are due to take place next week on the 8th of February. So that was before the break. We're going to move on to the next item of discussion today. You may have heard in the last few days or so, country after country has been queuing to cut funding for a United Nations agency, which was the backbone of humanitarian aid for the people of Gaza. A lot of the Western countries, European countries, and America have cut funding to UNRWA based on some evidence that was presented that some employees of UNRWA were involved in the attack on Israel on the 7th of October. We have with me now to discuss that, the implications of that, Jonathan Purcell. He's the Public Affairs and Communications Officer at International Center for Justice for Palestinians. Hi, good evening, Jonathan, and welcome to Inspire FM and welcome to Friday Night Live.
Hi, good evening. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you. Perhaps you can enlighten us into some more details about what happened and who perhaps UNRWA is, perhaps in some more detail.
Yeah, absolutely. So the context of this is really important. UNRWA is a well-established and vital channel for provision of aid in the occupied Palestinian territories. It's already been on its knees for years, well before October, and this restriction of funding is simply the latest blow. It puts it in an impossible position to try and provide aid at a time when it's needed most. So UNRWA is responsible for 1.7 million refugees in Gaza, and defunding it will have an implication on their ability to receive aid and have a clear knock-on effect for the remaining 400,000 people in Gaza as well. So what's happened is the UK is one of 10 countries that's taken a frankly perilous step in suspending funds to UNRWA. It's an astounding move that means that people in Gaza who are suffering right now will not receive any aid. The situation that we're seeing on the ground is that the risk of famine has been growing by the day. As far back as December, Human Rights Watch released a report saying that Israel was using starvation as a weapon of war. We've seen reports of people resorting to eating animal feeds. And at a time when famine is such an ever-present threat, it's just absolutely reckless to be defunding the most well-established channel for providing aid.
So seeing that after the attacks on the 7th of October on Israel, a lot of the European nations stood squarely behind Israel. So does it come as a surprise that an agency which is helping the Palestinians should cut the funding, seeing that they're clearly the Western nations have sided with the Israeli position? Is it surprising?
Of course, we've seen a loss of Western complicity with Israel's actions since October 7th. So in that sense, I suppose many people will not find it surprising. But UNRWA is a UN organization. It's been established for decades. It's explicitly associated with the provision of humanitarian aid. It's an even more remarkable step that you're seeing Western countries try to politicize a UN organization that is attempting to provide humanitarian aid. It's an absolutely terrifying further step again in this Western complicity that we've seen already since October.
Indeed. And is there other nations that provide funding to UNRWA? Presumably there's about 180 nations, United Nations. Presumably there are other nations who still continue to provide aid to
Absolutely. It's a UN funded organization. And even within Europe, we've seen several countries continue to provide aid. So it's not like it's a completely outlandish position to continue this. These 10 countries, which include the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, and others, they've taken a very clear and unique step themselves to decide to take this stance. And it's not
political position. Yeah, and I think that the timing is unusual as well because it comes on the heels of the court at the IJC, their verdict that potentially there's genocide happening. And again, there has to be a demarcation, I guess, between the actions that the war in Gaza has been painted, I guess, by Israel as being war with Hamas. Some of the actions clearly point to the fact that it's a war on Gaza. And the people of Gaza, and withdrawing aid and stopping aid from getting through, I guess, on the Rafah border, etc., seems to be indicating it is actually a war on Gaza, and I think Western nations are actually supporting that.
So this is a really interesting thing that you bring up. Of course, the provisional measures set out by the International Court of Justice in relation to the South Africa versus Israel genocide case, they're highly clear. So one of them is that Israel should increase the humanitarian aid and enable the provision of urgently needed basic services in Gaza. That's one of the stipulations that the International Court of Justice has outlined as a provisional measure. The clearest route to provide humanitarian aid is the route that has been used for so long, and that is UNRWA, a UN organization that's explicitly set up to achieve this. So not only is there a question of Israel failing to provide humanitarian aid, which is something that's clear, but we're now seeing potential complicity from Western countries in disrupting that humanitarian aid from coming through, which is one of these provisional measures that's been outlined by the International Court of Justice. So it's an astounding and deeply troubling move.
But of course, looking at it from the other side, I guess there have been people who have worked for UNRWA and have been proven, is that right? Proven to have taken part in 7th of October attacks on Israel?
I believe that's the position that's taken. And of course, those individuals have been suspended from UNRWA. It's an absolutely massive organization, and those individuals should be dealt with accordingly. But the crux of what the organization does is so crucial that withdrawing funding because of this situation will have a massive knock-on effect on innocent civilians who had absolutely nothing to do with this. And we've seen in the past as well where UN organizations have been tied up, for instance, in Bosnia, in various allegations, funding has not been withdrawn. So you do wonder why there is this inconsistency and why this is happening in this particular situation.
And of course, I think Israel has been saying different things about UNRWA and its position. And there have been statements made by UNRWA to be very supportive of the Palestinians. So I can see why the Israelis have drawn their eye against UNRWA. So do you think that position is justified? The fact that UNRWA is actually acting politically?
I think that UNRWA's position is wanting to provide humanitarian aid to Palestinian people. I don't think that that has any political implications on their view on the wider politics of the region. It's simply that civilians require humanitarian aid due to humanitarian crisis, and that's what they've been set up to do. Israel seeks to politicize organizations that work against it. They view UNRWA as working against it because it's providing Palestinian people with humanitarian aid. I would strongly disagree with that assessment.
And is there an alternative agency, or an alternative source of support for the Palestinians if UNRWA was actually sidelined? And is the sidelining by Western nations going to have a massive impact on UNRWA so that it's unfunctionable?
So countries can try to work themselves. So UK aid within the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office could instead, create its own routes. There is some funding directly from UK aid, but UNRWA, it's well established. It's been a vital channel for many years, and it already occupies this space. You do wonder whether there would be a teething period if countries attempted to increase or set up their own individual channels. So it seems like an unnecessary move that's likely to cause more problems than create solutions.
But obviously, is UNRWA still operating in Gaza, though? Because I think there has been a blockade. The aid hasn't been getting through. So has UNRWA been able to function at all under the current circumstances?
There's rudimentary aid coming through. It's nowhere near enough, but the organization that's been getting aid through has been UNRWA. There's been structural problems in that it's been underfunded for many years now. It's still doing this work, but as you say, there's only a certain extent to which this can be achieved when there's so many problems at the border.
And finally, do you see perhaps Arab countries stepping in to fill the gap left by funding from European nations, especially the Qataris, maybe?
It's a good question, but a lot of other countries, they've committed to the level of funding that they're giving to UNRWA. It's a shame that many Western countries, these 10, have created this gap through their withdrawal. It's easy to speculate on what other countries can do. I'm afraid that for that particular question, I don't have a direct answer for you. We'll have to wait.
Absolutely. There's a possibility, and we can hope and we can pray that these countries will step in, because there's a massive need for aid. For people of Gaza, they've gone through so much in the last 100 or 10 or so days, and we pray that their lives are made easier. Jonathan Purcell, thank you very much for your commentary and your comments on the situation of aid and UNRWA in Gaza. Perhaps we'll speak again on future events, but I want to move on to another topic now. Thank you very much, and good night to yourself. I'll move on to local news, local information, I guess. We've got Councillor Javed Hussain again with me for the second week running. This is setting a precedence now, all right? So we spoke last week briefly about the cemetery and the new cemetery, basically, the arrangements that are in place. There have been people who have actually queried and questioned whether they're going to be effective or not. So perhaps one of the items that has been circulating, one of the questions that's been circulating is about parking access and sizes of the cupboard and all that. So I guess repeating the question from the last time. So there's no on-site parking on this new extension to the cemetery. Parking is going to be on the main cemetery that's there at the moment. How practical is that? How practical is it that people will be able to park and walk across to the new cemetery, the New Vale Cemetery?
Thank you. And it feels like deja vu as I'm back two weeks in a row. I think, thank you for the question. I think it's an important question. So On site, there'll be disabled parking. The number, we haven't finalized the numbers of 2025, which should be adequate. Anybody else who's able-bodied person like myself will be able to park in the old car park, use the toilets if they need to, and walk across. Now, the walk is, if you look at the roundabout, if you go to the last row of grave, which is not that many little lines, probably about 8, probably. We're opening a new entrance at the back, which will allow you to walk across to the other field. And
So
that
what would that be? Just a path or
a path,
on top of the road, basically?
a path that goes on Butterfield, but the hearse will go inside. So there is going to be a service road because it's green belt and we're trying to preserve the green belt. It's two things. We're trying to preserve the green belt, but we're also trying to preserve now. We calculate approximately 7,000 graves, which on the new site. Now, if we put another car park and we put a 200 car park for, potentially 500 funerals a year, what that means is we would potentially lose maybe 1,000 spaces. Would we really want to lose 1,000 spaces? Bear in mind that this is maybe, we've got to then look at where's our next site.
So what's the feedback been on the consultations that you've had?
No, it's been good because there's been a lot of misinformation being spelled. So let me just sort of say, so what we've tried to do is, first and foremost, is we're actually got contractors on site who are putting the drainage in. So whatever we do not go back to the horrible scenes that we had through COVID, where we had loved ones' graves flooding. So we're putting down drainage right now. Will that be adequate? We don't know, because a lot of that new land is also clay. A lot of Stopsley up there is clay. So we're taking in some measures to try and mitigate some of the abnormal rain that we get with climate change. So part of that is trying to get a standard head size. So in death, we're all equal. So one head size for all, so that it looks very uniform. We're still allowing the curb sets, but what we're suggesting in the middle of the curb sets, that you leave its soil there and you plant flowers there. Now,
but there's some information about not being able to plant flowers. Is that right?
So I'm telling you on radio today, and you'll get it. It'll be put on the website on Monday or Tuesday next week. So we're working it. So we've been doing the consultation. So you will be allowed flowers. What we are not allowing is trees, and I'll like to explain why. Would we want trees? Its first year is fine. 2 years may be fine, but a tree when it matures 10 years, the roots. People complain to me all the time about roots damaging their houses, damaging the paths. So what we're not allowing trees. Now the flowers, the early caveat there is that we want you to maintain the flowers so they don't go higher than the headset. So that when you look at it at the graveyard, it should be a place of, it's your last place. And it should be peaceful, respectful, and dignity. So very similar to the Garden of Peace, but we're allowing a lot more flexibility than the Garden of Peace in Ilford. So that was it. The other bit, I think the one that's really is contentious is the word encroachment. Now, encroachment is, so when the council, when I say we, the council, sell you a plot. The plot belongs to you, but the space in between, so we're still allowing chambers underneath, whether you want a wooden chamber or a concrete, we're still allowing, so you still have the chambers. Space in the middle, of health and safety reason and for drainage, what we're saying is that space actually belongs to the council, and we're not going to allow you to put matting. We're not going to allow you to put tiles, because what they do is they don't allow natural drainage, as you would get through soil, and all they're doing is dispersing the water onto other people's grave, which really is unfair. So if even on,
I mean, you say that, but is that scientifically proven? How is the tiling going to affect drainage? I mean, you mentioned that several times, but
no. So
how does a curb set affect drainage? I mean, I can't see it happening.
So if you're in the middle, if you leave the middle section soil, water comes in, soil absorbs it.
Yeah, but it doesn't absorb it because you've got the the frame underneath but
it disperses over it underneath it. But at least it's not going to be seen because the issue was people were seeing now. We didn't dig up graves to have a look, but what could be seen, and that was really hurting a lot of people, was the fact that you saw so much surface water on top.
But that's your drainage problem. That's not the curb set, right?
No, we are putting in drainage, but we're trying to mitigate by by doing as much as we can, because we can't control rain. We don't know what level of rain, and you're absolutely right.
But I think the other thing is not allowing. To be honest, I am in many ways I'm supportive of that, because there's lots of people who put carpet, artificial carpet, etc., and it doesn't look natural. But having said that, I do see the point that sometimes you go there in the winter, right, and it's all soggy and it's wet and it's horrible. So you really have to take another set of shoes basically to go and do the war on graves of your loved one. And people, the reason they've put tiles there and the reason they've put artificial grass is to protect, I guess, in many ways, to protect themselves, right?
And again, that's a very fair and honest question, but it's not uniform. If we did it on everybody's grave, it's some and some think that space actually belongs to the council. It doesn't actually belong. So actually, they're placing items.
So what? I mean, we pay council tax. So.
No, but then the next grave has been bought by somebody else. They have a right to that space as well as yourself. So you're right. But the whole idea of us doing that is because you guys do pay council tax. We as a council have gone and made the investment to purchase this land for our residents.
Without money?
Well, no, it's your money, but it's council money. But the thing is it'll be council borrowing. We borrow the money. We purchase the land in advance.
Still have to pay for it. That's not an argument.
No, but
I don't buy that as an argument. I do understand why it's not nice. And I prefer it to be natural. And if you said people prefer it to be natural rather than tiled over, etc., I can get that. But uniformity, trying to get everyone to be the same, etc., seems to be a bit draconian to me, to be honest.
I don't know about it, but if it's good enough, or if you look at Piece of Gardens, if you go there, they're very there. So I take it, but the main thing is for us is to, like you just sort of highlighted, is to make it so the drainage is the best we've got. Now, in terms of chairs,
I don't buy the argument. So let's just move on. So I wanted to. It's not scientifically proven that the curb sets add to the drainage problems, etc. But anyway, let's move on. So the other item really is around Palestinian flags. Your department, one of your department is the highways, and there's some youngsters spent a lot of energy and effort putting some flags right on lampposts, basically, and then the council came in the next day and removed them. Why?
Thank you for the question, and that's why I'm here. But let me just finish on the graveyard. We will be also, there's questions around benches. We will be loaning you chairs so you can sit because these rules will be for across all communities. We'll be loaning that chair. Now, I'm just going to add that in so for the listeners.
Sure.
Now, in terms of the Palestinian flags being removed, now, firstly, I'm going to apologize because we could have handled it in a more sensitive manner. Where the rule is, Section 132 of the Highways Act 1980 does not allow any flags or items without planning permission to be put on a council highways property. That's the law. If they put them on their own, and the youngsters had put them on their own, we would never taken them off. Where we should have been is we should have communicated the breach of law and why we were doing it, and we were slow off the mark. And I apologize for that. And in the manner as well, because some of the hurt that was caused by that they were being sort of almost, as I was told, I didn't see them. They were ripped down, and we should have taken them off.
Do you think your officers will remove Israeli flags if they were there?
Absolutely. So I can categorically answer that. We would not allow.
So how come you allow advertising on those lampposts?
So if you look at the advertising, they go through a planning permission and somebody pays. So, but they're advertising. So we don't do it in all of them. And that's the section is you actually apply for planning permission. I can show you that for those advertising, we have to apply. So even like when you put a sign on a building, you need to get planning permissions. But back to your original question, absolutely would not allow any flags on a highways without prior permission. I'm sorry, the youngsters.
So how have you in your position, I guess, as a councillor, you're Labour, right?
Yes.
So your position on Palestine, did you vote or did you not vote for ceasefire?
100% voted for a ceasefire. The amendment that we put forward, and I'm not going to make this non-political. Every other councillor, all three parties voted to for a ceasefire. All three of them. So I'm not going to say it was
Fire,
Labour.
though. It was skirting around words, wasn't it?
No, it was a ceasefire.
And are you for it now?
100% for a
And
ceasefire.
are you supporting your leader? Because he's not for ceasefire.
We are calling for a ceasefire without
it's
unequivocally. I'm calling for it. So in my position I'm calling for a ceasefire.
which is against the position of your leader.
That's my view. We are calling for his view. It should be the humanitarian aid, but we're calling for a ceasefire.
Brilliant. Okay. Right, Councillor Javed, final few minutes, I guess, few seconds. Anything else that you wanted to add regarding cemetery or anything else that you're working on?
No, I think the cemetery one is a very important. So the service road question that you've asked is very pertinent. How we had some of these where on the matting, you'll say, we've been laxed. We should have been enforcing them, and we didn't enforce them in the old one, but we will be enforcing them in the new one.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Javed Hussain. Jazakallah khair for coming in today for the second week running. Listeners, that's it for this week.
This program will be